anything for procedural questions before we get going? Homework next week, Monday, from 4.1, 4.2, and 4.3. Stuart? No, you're good? Okay. That was those sections. Have I given you a date for the next test yet? Date for the next test? No? Okay, tentatively, what I am going to tentatively say is the Friday after Easter. So that would be Friday, April 17th. That's my tentatively. That is not a guarantee at this point in time, but that is my tentatively for the test on chapter 4, Friday, April 14th, tentative. Your chapter 3 homework is graded and I have to scan it back in. So I'm going to go to school this afternoon, print out a couple of things, scan it back in, and you should get it today. Hopefully I will email it just to both people or the group of 3 all at the same time. We'll go ahead and do that. What else? I had something else. Oh, a couple of there might be 1 or 2 of you that get a note on your homework. If you could just make sure to write a little darker next time. I had a little trouble reading some of it, nothing huge. I am going to try this time around. I am going to try doing it online, like marking it up in Adobe Reader instead of printing it out and scanning it and bringing it back and printing it again and yada, yada, yada. It was a pain in the butt. So what would help me, and if you can't do this, it's okay, I will make it work, but it would help if you could upload a single PDF file. And now that I'm saying that in this class, that might be harder because you are doing group work. So I get it. If you can't upload a single PDF file, that is fine. A PDF is much preferred over pictures though. So if you could please do a PDF as opposed to pictures, that is going to make my life way easier because otherwise I won't be able to mark it up online. So if you have multiple PDFs, because this is a group homework class, I can live with that. If you can get it to 1, that's great. But if not, that's okay. Those were my procedural things. Any procedural questions that you have before we move on to homework questions? Anybody for procedural questions before we go to homework questions? Daniel, to everyone, we could make a group Google Doc and upload individual pics and then download it as a PDF. You could do that if you wanted to, yeah. So you could do importing all your stuff into a Google document and then for your homework group, and then download it as a PDF if you wanted to do that also. Just double check, take a look at your pictures and make sure they look readable when you submit them. There were some, none of them were horrible in this class. I could make it all out and it was okay. There were just some that were a little bit light, and so try to be conscious of writing darker. Okay, anybody else? Other questions, procedural stuff? Anybody, anything? Okay, how about homework questions then? 4.1 and 4.2 is the stuff that we have assigned. Anybody on homework questions from 4.1 or 4.2? Notice that the last one I gave you on 4.2, number 33, that one needs to be done the long way with the integrals and with the definition. But the nice part is that you are not going to have an improper integral for that one. So that makes life at least a little bit better. You're just going to have an integral from A to B. Anything on homework questions? Anything there? Okay, so today, here's where we're at. We are once again working through Laplace transforms. So let's get these 3 steps up here because we want to make sure that everybody's on the same page with what we are trying to do. So Laplace transforms, remember I can't see you now, so raise your hand virtually. Solving diffeq's with Laplace transforms. You should be able to recite these 3 steps in your sleep by now. You should be able to totally recite these. First of all, take a Laplace transform. Secondly, solve for capital X of S. And third, take an inverse transform. Okay. Okay, So those are your 3 steps. Laplace transforms. Hard step is step number 3. Everybody's good. Today, what we're going to be dealing with is 2 things. The first one is, so this is today. Oops. Today. What happens if the denominator has a quadratic factor? So today we want to look at what happens if the denominator has a quadratic factor, and that would look something like s squared plus k times s plus l, something like that. What happens if the denominator has a quadratic factor? If we have s squared plus k times s plus l. That's the first thing for today. And then the second thing for today is higher order differential equations. We've been doing second order differential equations, right? We've gotten up to x double prime. We haven't done higher order differential equations. So we want to deal with those today. That's the 2 goals for what we're trying to do today. And again, remember, this is for, goal number 1 is for step number 3 to help us out with taking our inverse transforms. Okay, so if the denominator has a quadratic factor, then you need to complete the square. Denominator has a quadratic factor, then you need to complete the square. I won't ask you to give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down yet for how familiar you are with completing the square, but I am going to divide you into breakout rooms and have you do a couple of examples, because I think for some of you it might be a little while since we've done this. So 2 examples that are going to play into the ones that we're doing today for completing the square. First one I want you to do is s squared plus 2s plus 2. That's the first one. Complete the square for that. S squared plus 2s plus 2. And the second one is s squared plus 6s plus 25. S squared plus 2s plus 2. And s squared plus 6s plus 25. S squared plus 2s plus 2. S squared plus 6x plus 6s plus 25. All right, breakout rooms. Here we go. We're going to do these randomly. And I'll try not to close them super early. Go ahead, talk through these. Don't just do them individually, but talk through them. If you don't mind, see what you can come up with. I'll give you a couple minutes. Here we go. Should have a breakout room invite.